She stood on my porch again, pretending to deliver some HOA notice. But I noticed something different this time. Her eyes kept glancing toward the corner of my roof. I didn't think much of it until a few days later, when I saw a tiny red light blinking near the gutter. At first, I thought it was a reflection from the streetlight, until it blinked twice. My stomach dropped. I got closer, climbed up a ladder, and there it was. A hidden camera, small, but expensive-looking, pointed straight at my front door. My hands shook with anger. Who would install something like this? The next morning, I confronted Karen, the self-appointed HOA president, who acted like she owned the entire street. When I showed her a photo of the camera, she smiled like it was no big deal. "Maybe someone's protecting the neighborhood," she said, with a fake sweet tone. But the corner of her mouth twitched, and I knew she was lying. That night, I decided to check if the camera was still active. I set up a signal scanner app on my phone, and within seconds, a Wi-Fi feed popped up, Karen Cam 1. My heart started pounding. She wasn't just spying, she was watching live. I reported it to the police the next morning. At first, they looked unsure. It's not every day a neighbor accuses someone of surveillance. But when the tech officer traced the IP address, his eyebrows shot up. The feed was being accessed remotely from Karen's own router. The officers showed up at her house that afternoon. I stood across the street, watching her open the door with her usual smug smile, until one of the officers held up a tablet showing her own Wi-Fi activity logs. Her face went pale. "You've been accessing private camera feeds from your neighbor's property," one cop said firmly. Karen's voice cracked. That's not mine. I was just helping with community safety." But the evidence was too clear. The officers looked toward me, and one nodded slightly, as if to say, "You were right." For the first time, Karen didn't have anything to say. Karen's tone changed fast. One second she was trembling. The next she was shouting, "He gave me permission. He told me to install it." She pointed at me like a wild animal cornered. The cops turned to me, waiting for an answer. "Permission?" I said quietly. "Why would I let you put a hidden camera on my porch, Karen?" Her face twisted. "Because you said you were fine with HOA monitoring. Everyone agreed to the new safety policy." That's when the officer in the middle spoke up. "Ma'am, there's no registered HOA surveillance rule on record. We checked your files." Karen froze. I could tell. She hadn't expected that. Her little empire of fake HOA power was starting to crack. Then came the real twist. One of the officers stepped forward, holding a printed document. "This isn't the first complaint about you. We received 2 similar reports last month. Same camera model, same Wi-Fi signature, same name on the device." She started stuttering, backing away toward her door. "I was just keeping the neighborhood safe." "Safe?" I said. "You've been spying on people's kids, their families, their homes. That's not safety, that's obsession." Karen suddenly tried to snatch the paper from the officer's hand, but he stopped her. "Ma'am, calm down," he said firmly. "You need to come with us for questioning." As they began escorting her to the patrol car, she looked over her shoulder and screamed, "You'll regret this. You don't know who you're messing with." But as the door closed behind her, one of the officers turned to me and said, "Actually, sir, she was right about one thing. You really don't know everything yet." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He glanced at the other 2 cops, then looked back at me. "We found something else in her system. A second live feed." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Another camera?" The officer nodded slowly. "Yes, and it's inside your house." My breath caught in my throat. "Inside my house?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. The officer nodded again, his expression dead serious. We traced a second feed coming from a device inside your living room. We'll need your permission to check the property. I pushed open my front door, my pulse thundering in my ears. The officers spread out, scanning every corner. Behind picture frames, under shelves, even inside the air vent. Then one of them called out, "Got something." Hidden inside the smoke detector was another camera. Smaller than the first one, almost invisible. My hands went cold. Karen had been inside my house. How did she even get in? I muttered. One officer pointed to the door's lower hinge. See this? Someone replaced your screws recently. She probably used a master key. I sank onto the couch, shaking my head. She's been in here, watching us, watching me. Then the tech officer came over, holding a small device. We found her remote access log. She's been streaming footage for weeks. But here's what's worse. The feed wasn't just going to her laptop. What do you mean? I asked, already afraid of the answer. He took a deep breath. It was being uploaded to a shared server. Multiple viewers, possibly selling access. My stomach flipped. She was live streaming my house? Looks that way, he said grimly. One of the officers stepped aside to make a call. Within minutes, 2 more patrol cars arrived, lights flashing. They began collecting the devices, photographing every corner. I just sat there, frozen, staring at the spot where the camera had been. Then, something even stranger happened. The officer who had spoken earlier came back with his phone. You might want to see this, he said quietly, showing me a paused video from Karen's feed. I leaned closer, and my blood ran cold. The video showed Karen standing in my living room, smiling at the camera, whispering something. The officer played the audio back. She looked straight into the lens and said, "He thinks I'm watching him, but he doesn't know why." For a long moment, I just stared at that video. Her face, that chilling smile, the way she said those words like a promise. He doesn't know why. It wasn't random. It wasn't obsession. It was personal. I turned to the officer. What does that mean? Why would she say that? He exchanged a look with the tech guy. We're still digging into her records, but if she's been recording multiple homes, there might be something deeper here. Extortion, maybe blackmail. I shook my head. Karen isn't that smart. She's controlling, sure, but this feels bigger. That's when the officer's radio crackled. Dispatch to Unit 9. We found something in the suspect's garage. You're gonna want to see this. They asked me to stay put, but my curiosity got the better of me. Within 10 minutes, we were standing in Karen's garage, the door half open, lights flashing across the walls. Inside, it looked nothing like a regular suburban garage. There were rows of monitors, cables, hard drives stacked like bricks, dozens of live camera feeds, some from my street, others from houses I didn't even recognize. But what made my heart skip a beat was the feed in the center screen. It was my house again, except the timestamp showed it was live. Wait, that's impossible, I said. You removed all the cameras. The tech officer's hands flew across the keyboard, scanning the source. His face went pale. This feed isn't coming from her equipment anymore. It's streaming through your smart home system. My what? Your thermostat, your TV, even your fridge. She hacked your Wi-Fi. She could still see everything. My mouth went dry. I unplugged the router myself, watching the screens flicker to static. Not anymore, I muttered. Just then, one of the detectives pulled out a small folder from her desk drawer, labeled HOA Property Enforcement, Confidential. Inside were copies of homeowners' personal data, birth certificates, bank info, even property deeds. And there, stapled to the top, was a document with my name on it. Across the page, in bold letters, it said, Target number 4, transfer ownership pending. What the hell is this? I whispered. The detective looked at me grimly. I think she was trying to take more than your privacy, sir. She was planning to take your home.